are some people who will not be able to join us this evening, so I will have a transcript of the meeting. So just press the button where it says record, and you can also take a screenshot of any of the slide presentation. If you want to do that, you can just click the camera icon that is located on the screen in the top right-hand corner, right underneath the square, the dash, the square, and the X. So when you see that, you should be able to, it should be at the top of your screen. You should be able to grab any of those. Also, if you'd like me to send it to you, I can do that as well. So for those of you who are joining us by phone, if you have any questions, as I stated earlier, you can email info@advantage-intl.com. Again, that's info@advantage-intl.com, since you won't have access to the chat box that's part of the online orientation, and we will answer all questions at the end. And I'll try to be as descriptive as I can. So first, your travel documents. Hopefully you've received your documents by now, your package, and I want to make sure that you pull that out so that you can go through it with the orientation. So your document package will have your e-ticket confirmation. It's just a one-sheeter that gives you your airline flight information, your confirmation number, and your ticket number. Now, they're electronic tickets, so a physical ticket does not exist. So you just have your e-ticket confirmation. You have a large brochure, and it has the WHUR World Tour Japan on the front. And you also have a small pocket-sized brochure with schedules and times for our departures for our days that we're touring, and that is found in the leather document holder. You also have some destination brochures and maps to help you get a little bit more acclimated with the destination and the cities that we're visiting. You have one luggage tag, the brown luggage tag, to go on your checked bag, to go on your carry-on bag. And you have a yellow luggage spotter that is also a luggage tag. So you can put your contact information on the inside, and you're going to wrap it around the handle of your checked bag. And you want to make sure that you bring all of those items with you so that you'll be fully informed on and during the trip. Now, with the large brochure, you're going to find the day-to-day itinerary, and then toward the end, after the last day of the tour, you'll see some useful Japanese phrases. Hopefully you'll practice on those, and you will have some useful information that'll just give you time zones and the areas that we're visiting, clothing, etc., currency exchange and all of that, and a reminder for the 311 rule for the airline. That means no liquid containers above 3 ounces on your checked bags. Then you have a traveler's checklist that's going to help you out. Now, on the very back of that brochure, you have mine and Jean's information, the emergency contact number. It is a cell number, so make sure that it's only used in case of an emergency and during the trip as well. Okay, so on our departure, we're flying United Airlines out of Washington Dulles Airport, and out of Chicago. We do have a few folks who are going to be joining us out of Chicago. We recommend that you arrive 3 hours before the flight. And remember, you have to go through security. Sometimes those security lines are very long, so you want to give yourself plenty of time, because if you're not checked in at the gate 1 hour prior, the airline has the right to deny you boarding, so you want to make sure. And again, I want to remind you of the 311 rule. Upon arrival in Japan, in Tokyo, and we will arrive at the Narita airport, it's going to be hard for us to all stay together at that point because we're going to be disembarking and at different together, but not all together as a group. So when you disembark, you want to proceed to immigration. After immigration, this is where you give your passport. You will then continue to baggage claim and to the luggage carousel that's indicated for our flight. And then you're going to continue through customs. Once you pass through customs, you're then going to look for the WHUR sign. That's going to look like the logo that was on the front page. And that's where our ground company will greet us after we have our luggage, and then we will transfer to the hotel, which is the Westin Tokyo. Yes, you are entering the advantage time zone. What does that mean? It just means that we want you to be on time for the tours and transfers so that you won't get left behind, understanding that the tours that are included but not mandatory. So if you're not at the bus, which we recommend 10 minutes prior to departure so that we're boarded and ready to depart, then we will assume that maybe you're not taking the tour for that day. And I do want to tell you this. The Japanese are very, very punctual. And when I say punctual, I mean to the second, and you will see that. So we want to make sure that we're going to be as the Japanese are, as they say when in Rome, do as they do. So we'll be in Japan, so we're going to be on time. Maybe not to the second, but we will definitely be on time. And some days we have packed schedules, so understanding that we need to not only leave the hotel on time, but when we give you the amount of time at each site, we need to be back to the bus on time so that we can keep up with our schedule and make sure that you are seeing everything that's on the itinerary. We're going to be in Tokyo from the 4th of November to the 7th of November overnight, and Tokyo, as it says here, one of the world's most cutting-edge capitals, and it rivals New York, of course, and they're very much ahead as far as technology. Upon arrival, it's going to be very close. So if you've noticed on your itinerary, you will see when we arrive on the 4th, our flight gets in after 4 o'clock. And with that, by the time we get to the hotel and check in, we will really only have about an hour before we reconvene for our departure for dinner. And so what I recommend here is that you'll have two options. You either handle your own bags to your room, because if you wait for luggage service, it may take a while to get to your room, or pack something for dinner in your carry-on bag. Then that way you have that and you're ready to go. And then we will have our welcome dinner that evening. So when we leave Tokyo, we're going to drive to Hakone. Hakone is the area at the base of Mount Fuji, and it's going to be a fabulous day. And after we tour the museum there, as well as the body of water or the lake that's around the base of Mount Fuji, which is always snow-capped, sometimes more than others, we will then head to the train station and take the bullet train or the Shinkansen to Osaka. And our luggage will go ahead of us directly to the hotel in Osaka so that we don't have to worry with a lot of luggage at the train station and as we're touring Mount Fuji or the Hakone area. And we will be in first class service on the train. And as you see here, yes, 320 kilometers per hour. It's a very fast train, and it is very punctual. I have tested it myself. I took the train a couple of years ago when I was in Japan, and believe me, you can see the digital time display, and it counts down to the second, and the train is arriving. It's extremely comfortable. You barely feel any movement at all, and it's just a wonderful experience. that you will have, and we will continue on to Osaka. From the 8th through the 12th, we will be in Osaka, staying overnight in Osaka and visiting Kyoto. And our hotel accommodations will be in Osaka. And one thing you have to try when you're in Osaka is street food. They're known for street food. If you're brave enough, you want to try takoyaki, which is a street food that was created there in Osaka. It's made it on Food Network channel on many different shows. And basically, you'll see a huge octopus outside of the restaurant typically. And they have these, I guess you can call them pots, these burners and they have little scoops out of them, and it's like a pancake batter, and then they put a piece of octopus in the middle, and then with large chopsticks they keep turning the batter until it forms like a ball, almost like a fritter with the octopus inside. So if you'd like to try that, you can. But they're very much known for street food in Osaka. And that's one thing you want to try. Very good shopping in Osaka as well. You'll see these shopping areas. They're not malls, but they're partially enclosed, and the city from one side to the other is connected with these small bridges over the river, and you can go from place to place, and they have all types of shops inside, so it's a great place to shop as well. And Kyoto is the cultural capital of Japan, and that's of course where we're going to participate in some of our cultural activities like the tea ceremony. And it's not going to be the full tea ceremony. We will get a highlight of it because the full tea ceremony can take the entire day, traditionally speaking, but we do want to have you experience the making of the tea and the tea ceremony. It's called matcha, which is a green powder, and everything is very persnickety, if you will, about the process and procedure of it. And that photo there right in the middle is in Arashiyama, which is the bamboo forest, and that's a beautiful area. It's just a grove of bamboo trees, and that's what you see here, and you walk right through them, and it's just beautiful. And then yes, you may see some geisha walking around in full traditional clothing, and because they are very much into tradition in Kyoto. So again, Kyoto is a place that we will visit, but we are staying overnight in Osaka. And then before you know it, it'll be our last day in Osaka where we are departing from, and we will say sayonara to Japan. And just a couple of things, not just in Osaka, but when we're leaving Tokyo, you want to make sure whatever day we're departing that you settle your hotel account the night before. That just helps us on our morning of or day of departure, that we don't have a bottleneck, a long line of everyone checking out at the same time or settling their account. So again, you want to settle your account the night before, not check out, but settle your account. That way the morning of our departure or the day of our departure, you're just turning in your keys, as long as you haven't charged anything else to your room. And you want to make sure that you have your bags outside of the room by the preset announced time. So we will give you more instruction about that the night before or the last time we'll see you before then, so that you know what time to have your bags out and what to expect. And you just want to make sure that you keep all of your personal items and your valuables in your safety deposit box. But on the days that we depart, just remember to take those out. And for the dates that, or the times that we're departing when we're checking out, so on the morning of the 8th in Tokyo and on the 12th in Osaka, you'll need to arrive to the bus 15 minutes before so that you can identify your bag, have it loaded onto the bus, and so that we can then depart on time. Bags are never loaded onto the bus until they have been identified so that there's never a question for you or for anyone else whether or not your bag made it onto the bus. It's an assumption that we don't want to have. Now the entire group, I'm sorry, let me go back. We will have the earlier part of the day free on our last day in Osaka. As you can see, our flight doesn't leave until 6:20 p.m., but we will be leaving, let me double check, I think around 3 o'clock, 2 or 3 o'clock in order to get to the airport. Our departure is 3 p.m. for our motor coach ride to the airport in Osaka, so you'll have that morning free. The entire group will be on the same flight from Osaka to San Francisco. We will then split once we get to San Francisco, and those going to Washington will head to Washington, and those going to Chicago will head to Chicago. And let's see. So when on that time, you want to make sure that you check your bags all the way through to your final destination, so Chicago or Washington, D.C. And the reason for that is you will still need to collect your bag in San Francisco so that you can clear immigration and customs in your first port of entry into the United States. But if your bag is tagged to your final destination, you can then use what they call the bag recheck area. If you don't do that, you'll have to collect your bag, you'll have to go to the domestic terminal and then check in at the check-in counter for that flight rather than just handing off your bag in the recheck area. So that's very important to check your bag through to your final destination and just verify that the agent who's checking you in at the airport recognizes that. Just a couple of things to remind you of or to give you information on. I checked the 10-day forecast and it looks like our weather's going to be pretty good. Actually, the 2-week forecast I checked, and it looks like the weather's going to be pretty good with a high of 63 and a low of 50 as an average, give or take a couple. And so it is fall. And November is one of the best times to be in Japan. It's not as packed. It's not as busy as it would be in the summer. The weather is typically mild, but the autumn colors are beautiful. And of course, November 8th is election day and we will not be here. So I just want to remind you to vote early if you haven't already done that. On one of the earlier e-blasts I sent out, I provided a link for early voting around the entire United States. So you can just follow that link and find out where early voting occurs in your city. And just a few other things. Please remember to review all of your items in your document package and itinerary, and you want to, with your passport, we always recommend that you photocopy it and have a couple of copies, and you want to make sure that you travel separately. It's separate from your actual passport, so keep a copy in another envelope or another wallet or another place that's secure away from it. It'll just be of assistance if you were to lose your passport, which we don't hope that you do, but just in case. And again, just remember to use and to take out anything that's left in your safety deposit box. And medication, oh, I'm sorry, I want to go back. Emergency contact person. We always recommend that you appoint an emergency contact person. That's somebody who you have a conversation with, you tell them, look, I'm going to be away, and so if anything, if I need to reach you for anything, if in case of any emergencies with my family, with myself, with my household, I can count on you. So that's somebody who's going to be in town, somebody that you trust, obviously, and you want to make sure you give them your flight itinerary as well as your daily itinerary, because that has your hotel confirmation and contact information in there as well. If you're traveling with any medications, make sure you keep them in your personal bag, your carry-on bag, and not in your checked bag, especially if it's medication you need to take throughout the trip. Even if it isn't, and you're traveling with especially prescription medication, you want to keep it with you. I just wouldn't want to trust my medication in a bag that security may, TSA may go through and have access to. And if you have any medications that are prescription that are liquids and it's more than the 3 ounces, you want to go to tsa.gov so that you can find out what you need in order to travel with that. And you want to contact your bank and your credit card companies to alert them of your travels and your destination so that you won't have interruption of service while you're in Japan. Sometimes what happens is the fraud protection department will put a block on your credit card if it's coming from a different area, just to make sure and to protect you. So contact them ahead of time. Say, look, I will be in Japan, so expect transactions for me, especially on debit cards. There are a little bit higher alerts on debit cards. For cell phones, if you have international service, you can use your cell phones internationally. And on smartphones, they have data services. And so you want to make sure that you understand what those data services are in other countries, and you want to make sure that you turn off data roaming. And if you're, in case you're not familiar with data roaming, it just means if data roaming is turned on, it will connect with a cellular service wherever it's available, even if it's not a partner carrier with your cellular company, and your fees can be astronomical because every Facebook update, every email transaction will go through and you'll be charged for data services that are not connected to your service. And then I just want to remind you that for group travel, it's 1 checked bag and 1 carry-on bag. Your checked bag cannot exceed 50 pounds, and carry-on bags have restrictions as well. It's usually about 12 kilometers or 12, not kilometers, kilograms, and about 18 pounds. So you want to make sure that you fall within those guidelines so that you don't have additional baggage fees. And you want to stay up to date and get connected. One thing that is great to do is to share your experience. And so if you are online and with Facebook or Twitter, you want to connect with us. And when you're posting, you want to use the hashtag WHUR World Tour Japan, or you want to use the Advantage International hashtag. And we will be doing some fun things throughout the trip for those who are following us on social media. So you want to stay connected and you want to do that as well. Well, that concludes the online orientation. We're looking forward to traveling with you, and we will see you on the plane. Oh, I'm sorry. There's one thing I want to advise you of before I get to questions. I'm not sure if you've seen in the news that the Samsung Galaxy Note 7 has had some issues, and FAA has implemented restrictions and airlines are restricting them. So if you have a Samsung Galaxy Note 7, you should not travel with it because the airlines don't want you to bring them on board. And FAA has just implemented a fine. So if someone has a Galaxy Note 7 and they turn it on the aircraft, they can be fined up to $173,000. Yeah, $173,000 because the battery is malfunctioning and it's catching fire. So that's why it's been banned. You may have heard that in the news. So I'm going to get to some of the questions. The flight times on the Oh, okay. So the flight times on your e-ticket confirmation are the accurate flight times. And I'm just going to go through some of the questions here. Yes, on the flights where based on the flight times, an evening flight will serve dinner. A morning flight will serve breakfast if it's both. So if it's a afternoon or evening flight, you'll get dinner, and then a morning arrival, you will get breakfast as well. It was just a question that someone asked. It's a private one, so I won't read that one. So if we want to get out for golf, what is the best way to get a tee time, and who should we coordinate that with? You should coordinate that with the hotel concierge. They can help you with any of the courses that are available there. And actually, if you go to Starwood or Westin online and click on Contact Us, you can communicate with the hotel directly, or you can call them with the phone number so that if you want to organize it before you get there. Otherwise, upon arrival, you can head to concierge at the hotel for assistance with that. Let's see. Okay, can I use my pre-check, TSA pre-check boarding from my U.S. origin? Yes, you can, as long as your pre-check number is in your airline reservation, because it has to be printed on your boarding pass. It's not good enough just that you have it or that you present the card. It must be printed on your boarding pass. So if you haven't given us that TSA pre-check number, then it's not in your record. So you need to contact the airline to have that put in your record so that when you get to the airport and print your boarding pass, it says TSA pre-check. TSA pre-check is only for the U.S. as the question was posed, so it won't apply for your departure from Japan, but it will apply for your U.S. origin. Can you use your US plug in Japan? You will need an adapter. And some of the hotels, though, especially five-star hotels, have multi-plugs or international plugs. So you want to check, for example, the desk that's in your hotel room, and you may see multiple plugs, so they may have a US one there. Japan is on 100 volts, which is different from North America, which is 120. And so you want to definitely have an adapter with you. Sometimes hotels also have them that you can borrow. However, they only have a limited number, so I wouldn't count on using the hotels. And so I'm going back to the first one. I will need to check it. So thanks for alerting me that the e-ticket, I'm sorry, that the flight times are different on the large brochure than they are on the small brochure. So go by the flight times that are on the e-ticket confirmation. That is the actual e-ticket confirmation or flight confirmation, so that's what you should go by, and our apologies for that. Okay, so the e-ticket confirmation, whether you received it by email or in your packet, it is the same e-ticket confirmation, so they are not any different. There will not be an Advantage representative on the Chicago flight. Since the main group is out of Washington, D.C., then Advantage representatives will be traveling with the group out of Washington, D.C. However, the flight times are very close to each other, within minutes of each other, so we will all arrive in Narita around the same time. And you have our cell number for an emergency contact. The welcome dinner is casual, but I would say smart casual. So the question is the welcome dinner casual? Smart casual. So just like if you were going out to dinner at home, not a cocktail reception, but you know, if you were going out after work, I would say. What is recommended for outerwear during the duration of the trip? I would say a jacket. Again, it's going to be low 50s, mid 60s on the high end. So perfect fall weather, sweaters, jackets. It's always a good idea to bring like scarves, pashminas, things like that. So depending on how cold or hot you get personally, will depend on how heavy of a jacket you will need. But I definitely think jacket weather is how I would describe it. I don't think you need a big overcoat for between 50 and 65 degrees. So the question is the kilometers versus miles. So the bullet train or the Shinkansen is 320 kilometers per hour. That's 198 miles an hour. There's a question about having an opportunity to visit a school or observe an educational setting. That's not part of a group activity. However, I know that that's been a request from one individual, so we have placed that request with our ground company, and they can help point us in the direction for that. The question about baggage. So the baggage requirements for the group is one checked bag, one carry-on bag at no charge. Understanding that we are not only traveling by flight. I know the question was about the flight, but we're not only traveling by flight, we're traveling by motor coach, we're traveling by train, so we have to travel light. And for the group, the requirement is one checked bag, one carry-on bag. And for weight and size for the checked bag and for the carry-on bag, we're flying on United Airlines. And it's best to go to the airline's baggage policy online for international flights. But the maximum weight for your checked bag is 50 pounds. And if it goes over that, if it's oversized or overweight, they will charge you additionally. Flights changed from San Francisco to DC, you will have to change planes. And as mentioned earlier, you will have to clear customs and immigration in San Francisco. And again, we want to go by the e-ticket confirmation for the flight information. And I'm just scrolling to see if there are any other questions. Are you going to have time to exchange money? Yes, you can change money at the hotel. And for Wi-Fi at the hotels, there is Wi-Fi in the common areas, and usually in your rooms you'll have to pay additional for it, but complimentary Wi-Fi in the common areas. Is pre-check factored in the ticket? I think I answered that question earlier if I'm understanding the question, but if you have TSA pre-check, then you have a TSA pre-check number, which means that that number must be in the record prior to receiving your boarding pass, so that when you arrive at the airport and you have your boarding pass printed, the TSA pre-check must be on there. So again, you have to make sure that your pre-check number or your TSA pre-check number is in the record. The pre-check number will not be reflected, nor will TSA pre-check be reflected on the e-ticket confirmation. It only prints on the boarding pass. But if you want to verify that we have it, you can send us an email directly at info@Advantage, and we can make sure that we have it in the record. The group size is the question, and there will be 50 of us traveling together, and that's including the 2 Advantage representatives. Okay, which is better, the U.S. currency or the Japanese yen? Right now, they're almost on par, a little bit. I think maybe the question is it better to use U.S. currency or Japanese yen? Japanese yen, you will have to change money. You will not find a lot of institutes there who will take U.S. currency. It's private. Okay. And the last question, does the 311 rule pertain to checked bags? No, it only pertains to carry-on bags. It only pertains to carry-on bags because that's what has to go through security. So if it's in your checked bag, then it can be larger than 3 ounces. Okay, I think that was will we have a couple of more questions are coming in. Will you have time to exchange at the airport? You will not have time to exchange at the airport. As we said, the getting to the hotel and leaving for dinner, we won't have a lot of time. And what happens is that the bus can't sit outside and wait for us either. So you're going to have to go directly to the bus upon arrival at the airport and then change money at the hotel. And also you have a couple of free days in Tokyo or half day in Tokyo as well. So you'll be able to change money at currency exchanges if you like. And you can also get money using your ATM. Just check your bank in advance to see what international charges they have. So here's a question on how much money should we bring with you. That is a personal question because everyone has different spending habits. However, what I would do is you're looking at the itinerary. Breakfast each day is included. Some days lunch is also included. And then we have our welcome dinner and our farewell dinner. So a lot of your meals are included. So if you're talking about how much to carry around with you every day, I typically say anywhere from $50 to $100 per day, depending on your spending habits, more or less depending on you, 100 US dollars. And then I always add a little extra for in case of emergency. Understanding that today you can use your ATM, so if you need to get more money, you can do that. And credit cards are widely accepted in Japan, so you'll always have access to additional currency. Are traveler's checks better than cash? No. Actually, traveler's checks are becoming obsolete. Very few places issue them now, and fewer places exchange them, and sometimes they charge you additional fees for traveler's checks. I mean, they still operate the same as, and I know why the question is asked, because they do offer a sense of security, because if they're lost or stolen, they can be replaced. So I'm not telling you that you can't take them or shouldn't, but they're really becoming obsolete. Let me just see if there's any other questions. Credit card use. Is credit card use better or the yen? It really depends. If you're talking about like street shopping, things like that, you may do better with cash, with the yen. If you're making purchases in a store, it's pretty much going to be the same. What I would recommend is that you check with your credit card company and see if they have any international fees for charging. Otherwise, with credit cards and with ATMs, you get the direct bank rate. So you typically will get a better exchange rate than changing money because you usually have to pay a commission or a fee to change money. But I would check with your credit card company to see what international fees they have, because they vary and differ per bank. Okay, so you see, here's a question that says, I see group 1 and group 2 on the itinerary, and the question is why? We have 2 buses, and so the group is split between 2 buses. So you only see that on one day, and it's because the drumming ceremony has a maximum number per ceremony or per instruction. So we've had to break the group up, and therefore we're doing the same activities but slightly different times, and then we'll meet up again at a central point. So group 1, group 2 is referencing the 2 different buses. And okay, and I think I've gotten to the last question. Very good questions, guys, and I really do appreciate those. So that is the end of our orientation. If you think of any other questions later, just email us. We'll be more than happy to answer them for you, or give us a call. And again, we're looking forward to traveling with you, and we'll see you next week. See you on the plane.